If you're a hockey fan, you probably have jerseys. And if you're a jersey fan, you probably have a lot of jerseys. For some of us, it's a lifestyle. It's $250 because the reverse retro is on sale. Everyone has a story with their jersey. We want to hear all of them. Every day is a jersey day, but today is Jersey Thursday. If both of you can introduce yourselves.
Well, my name's Lane. I go by SaskStarsFan on the internet for Jersey communities and stuff like that. And I'm based in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I'm a massive Stars fan.
Hey everybody, my name's Dan, aka VanCanFan75 on Jersey communities, and I'm also the host of a Hockey Jersey podcast called Hockey Jersey Addicts, and it's a pleasure to be here today with both of you guys.
I wore this jersey. This is a Western Conference All-Star jersey from 96-ish, and I wore it because I do not have a Dallas Stars jersey to wear for this.
I've got on the jersey from like the 96 third jersey program. It's the Salmon Skate, as it's officially affectionately known by Canucks fans. I'll try to stand up here so you can see more of it for fans that aren't familiar with it, but it's probably one of the best, if not the best, attempts of a gradient style jersey in hockey. I just love how the colors really blend and really makes the crest stand out. And I had to go with 96, not only because it's the year of the program, but also that was a very rare time where Bure was wearing 96 instead of his more famous number 10.
For the first episode of Jersey Thursday, talking about what this man is wearing and what's on the wall over there. And yeah, maybe that thing.
All right, so this jersey here is a Dallas Star prototype from 2011 that was proposed to the Stars in the NHL. And it was meant to be a homage to the Stars North Stars past for the Dallas Star organization. But sadly, they couldn't figure out how to do it properly, and they canned the idea. The one over here is from their 2013 rebrand, and it was one that made the final couple designs for the rebrand. And yeah, these are two very unique jerseys.
And they're both incredibly good-looking jerseys, and you wear them well, I have to say.
So I guess I could talk a little bit about the one I'm wearing now. So I was able to get this jersey. Basically, I was buying from a guy off of Sideline Swap, and I noticed that he kept posting jersey after jersey after jersey once one of his other jerseys had sold. So I decided, okay, well, might as well just ask him, like shoot him a message and say, hey, do you have anything else you're willing to sell? I see you're posting day by day. And he asked me, he has a lot of jerseys, and he asked me what teams I cheer for, and I told him, and he directed me. He said, oh yeah, I have 2 Stars jerseys. One of them is in North Star colors, a Reebok Edge in North Star colors, and a gold Stars jersey with the new logo on it.
And how much did your mind blow when you heard that like there was a Dallas Stars prototype in North Star colors?
Well, I didn't know it was a prototype to begin with. So when he said that, I'm like, what are you talking about? The Stars never had a North Star colored Edge jersey. Like the Edge jerseys for the Stars were pretty bad. Like it was like, it started with the black word mark and the white word mark. And then they kind of got it together when they did the rebrand with Victory Green, but they're not as good as like their history could be. So when I was looking, when the guy told me this, I'm like, what? Is this a fake jersey? Did someone do that? Whatever. So and then he said a Stars jersey, a gold one with the new logo on. I'm like, okay.
That also makes no sense.
Yeah, it's like, I know there was once, like there was a mock-up of it, like a drawing from the rebrand, but that was it. So I was like, how about you send me a picture of them? And he sent me a picture of this and that. And I said, how much do you want for them? That was how fast I saw. So I saw this one, and it has, turn around here. It has,
player.
Cool.
It says player 11 on the back. So as soon as I saw that, I knew immediately it was a prototype. And the guy admitted it was a prototype after I kind of asked him a couple more questions. And this one also has a player on the back with number 1 on it instead.
It's named after famous Dallas Stars Jacques player, obviously.
Oh yeah, totally. But there was a stint where he wore number 11 too.
Oh, a brief stint.
More confusing.
A brief stint. But so what happened though was, so I bought the jerseys. I made an offer and I bought the jerseys. And I pressured him for some information because this jersey, I have never seen a mock-up, an article, even a video or anything on this jersey. I never even heard there was a talk about a North Star prototype in the works. It's never been even a leak. It's never been anything. And this has been around for a decade now in the wild, because when I got the jersey, it said in the tag that was made October 8th, 2010 was the prototype date for it. So they made it over a decade ago, and it had never gone onto the internet. Ever. It's never been anywhere. I spent days and weeks trying to find it. I still look at it. I still look everywhere, but now I'm just finding pictures of the jersey. I posted myself, so it's not working. But I've looked everywhere and I couldn't find it. So when I bought it, I'm like, okay, I think I just found something that is one of a kind, never been seen. And when I pressured him, I asked, okay, I need to know how did you get this jersey? B, what do you know anything about it? And so I asked him those, and he said he got them in the weirdest way. He got this one and a couple other jerseys. He traded goalie equipment that he had, some spare goalie equipment he had, for a bunch of jerseys, and these were in it. Like it just
happened to be in it.
It just happened, like it was just a bunch of jerseys, random jerseys. Some were prototypes, some weren't. And he traded a bunch of goalie equipment, like multiple sets of pads, multiple that kind of stuff, right? And he just traded it and got a bunch of jerseys in return. And these were a part of it. Weirdest way to get some super rare jerseys, but sure, whatever. But he said, he's kind of looked into it and stuff, and he said that in 2010 that this jersey was developed in the idea for the 2010-2011 season that the Stars would have some sort of event to pay homage to their North Star past. So is kind of playing on that era where the Kings also did something similar for their past. They had Reebok versions of their purple and their yellow jerseys, and they'd wear them 1 or 2 times a year as like special night events. And that's what they did. So the Stars wanted to do something similar, but it didn't really pan out like they wanted to. They didn't know how to properly market it, how they could do it properly. And I'm sure Minnesota probably objected to it very highly. And the jersey was scrapped and was completely unknown about for a decade until I posted it on social media just recently. And they designed, like the jersey itself, like the striping and everything is from their original 67 inaugural year striping for their jersey. And then the numbers themselves are from the 72, 73 jersey. They switched the font to the letters for drop shadow. So they had a mesh of like North Star jerseys that they went with. And then they created a whole new design for this logo. They incorporated the D very well. They used the Dallas Star at the time, just without the Stars word mark over top. And they incorporated the North Star era. And how this all came about has looked fantastic. And it's honestly one of my absolute favorite Stars logos now. And I hate it because it never was used. It would be up there with my love of the Motorist too. And if it was actually used. Right now, it is top 5 of my favorite Stars jerseys. And I don't know where I could put it on that top 5 list. But it was one of those things that I never knew that it existed. And being a huge Stars fan for 20 plus years, I never knew that this existed. And I was shocked when I got that email of the pictures. And I was like, nope, I got to have these right now. These have to be in my collection.
Just instantly you said, like, these need to be mine.
Yeah, basically. As soon as I saw that, I think I was laying in bed and I looked at it. I'm like, okay, no, I'm up and out of bed. I'm pacing around. I'm like, okay, will he accept my offer? Will he accept it? Please let me. I will pay any sort of money for this. And the guy accepted my offer, and I was really glad about that. And he got them shipped, and I was super happy. And then this one back here, I was excited about. Not as excited as this one, of course. This one was the rarest jersey I've ever seen for a Stars jersey. But this one, in 2013, when they did the rebrand, they were testing a bunch of different things. They were testing red, white, and blue. They were checking purple and gold and gold and
and even like the ownership, they were pushing for blue and silver, like the Cowboys.
Yeah, well, they brought in everyone that was kind of a name for the Stars. They brought in Daryl Ray, who's their commentator for their, at the time, Fox Sports Southwest. Now it's Bally Sports Southwest. He brought him in, and he was fighting for Texas colors very hard. He wanted them to be red, white, and blue. Other people in the organization were really fighting for some sort of gold. Because that's what the Stars have been ever since they moved to Dallas, was gold. And they were really trying that. They're trying different logos. They're trying to even just use the similar logo with different colors and their original logo and all these different designs and stuff. And of course, when you do a rebrand, you come up with a bunch of different options. And then you whittle it down to a few, maybe 3, maybe 4. I don't know the exact number, but and then Reebok, of course, was in part of the process of doing the rebrand. They were part of every step, and once they have those final ones, they make jerseys for them. Well, one mock-up that was shown during this, like they did a video of the rebrand after they did it. They had all the pictures and all the mock-ups, all the concept art, everything. And one of them that a lot of Stars fans looked at was like, they didn't go with silver. They had silver in it, but they didn't go with silver, and they used gold with their old forest green color, which they've used ever since the second year in Dallas after they dropped Kelly Green for forest gold or forest green. And it was in the mock-up, it looked really good. It was the same style as the jerseys they use now, but it's just with the new logo, but with gold and with some silver in the logo itself, but outlined in gold. So everyone wanted that. Like, it was like, oh, why didn't they go with that? Why didn't they go with that? But we never saw if they actually made a prototype for it. All they showed was the mock-up artwork. When he sent me this was what every single Stars fan at the time, I remember looking on Facebook and stuff. It's like, why didn't they go with that? That's what they should have gone with instead of a new color and new silver and all that stuff. They should have went with gold, and that's would have been great. This was the jersey that everyone wanted, and they actually made it. It was one of the finalists.
And it's crazy. I remember seeing on Aesthetics after the jersey was unveiled, there was like 1 billion concepts that was basically the jersey you have behind you.
Yep, exactly. And they did show one prototype jersey in that video that the Stars posted, and it was blue and gold. And in the video, they talked about how they were going to be they were trying to keep gold to the very end, but then decided to go with silver. And Tom Ghilardi, who had just taken over the Stars, he was very adamant that he wanted a new look for the Stars. He wanted to make it his team, and he wanted them to be green. He didn't want a black jersey. He wanted it to be green. That's why it took so long for the Stars to have a black third again, which they finally got this year with the blackout. But with that, he went with silver. And in my personal opinion, terrible choice, because silver is a number 2 color. And in the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs, it was proven they were number 2 because of that. So, yeah. So they were talking about that, how gold was the very last one. And the only prototype jersey they showed in that video that they had made was a blue and gold one, which was really interesting. It's like, okay, they made this. What else did they make? That would have been fantastic to see what else they would have come up with. And for 8 years now, we were always wondering, and yeah, they definitely made one. And it looks fantastic.
Crazy detail that we were talking about before with the one you're wearing is that it just missed Mike Modano, who actually did play for the North Stars by a year,
by a summer.
By literally a summer. So Modano played his last game in April of 2010 with the Stars. And then he did his stint in Detroit, which we are not going to talk about. But he played his last game, and then this jersey was developed or made by Reebok in October of that year. So they missed it by a summer and by an off season. And it would have been fantastic to have Mike Modano wear this jersey and have some sort of homage to that, right? And it would have been great. But I guess maybe it would, if he was still on the team, if he's decided to stay one more year in Dallas, maybe they would have brought this out and showed it off. And the only way that could have had some credibility for a jersey is having one of the last North Stars wearing it on the ice, right? So I guess we'll never know. But also another reason why it might not have made the cut was because the Stars at the time were going through bankruptcy hearings, and it was a real mess at the time. That's why they couldn't sign Mike Modano again, was because they didn't have any money. They didn't have any money to sign anyone. So they maybe that's why they just couldn't do another jersey at the time. But yeah, who knows? And then there's obviously the biggest glaring reason why they didn't, and it's one that I am happy to always revel in. In that the Wild, especially with their reverse retro now, they're starting to embrace the North Stars more. I don't think they would have been too happy with the jersey you're wearing.
Well, actually, from my knowledge and from my research, the North Stars the Minnesota Wild actually bought the rights to the colors and the designs from the Dallas Stars a number of years ago. I don't know what year it was or something, but it's a similar agreement that the Winnipeg Jets have with the Arizona Coyotes, where they bought like the numbers, the banners and all that stuff. They bought their history back from Phoenix or Arizona, and Minnesota kind of did something similar, but it was more just the designs and the colors, because Dallas wanted to keep the franchise records. They wanted to keep the retired numbers. They wanted to keep the banners because it was their history, right? And especially that there's, out of the 5 retired numbers, 3 of them played for Dallas. Only 2 of them didn't play for Dallas. So they felt like they wanted to keep those ones for their reasons. So that's why Minnesota was able to use the Kelly green and gold for their reverse retro this year. And I guarantee that their winter classic here that was supposed to happen this year, which will probably happen next year, will be a dark version of their reverse retro. They'll have a matching set probably.
I've always just disliked the Minnesota Wild identity anyway. And like looking at what you are wearing, like what they could have, like I've always loved the idea of like the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Ottawa Roughriders being the same league. I don't see why there can't be a North Stars and a Stars.
Yeah, they could have. Now, being a Saskatchewan Roughrider fan, there was only one true Roughrider team, but It was you could have definitely had a Stars and North Stars team, but I understand why that never happened. But I honestly think the reverse retro for the Minnesota Wild is their best jersey ever. Like in their entire history, that was the best jersey they've ever had. So like, that's just my personal opinion. And that might be because of my bias towards the Stars history.
If I can add too, I think you're touching on some other explanations as to why the jersey you're wearing never saw the light of day from a business point of view. And that's a real factor. Whether it be, hey, we didn't have the color rights at the time to actually have this on the ice, or from other discussions I've had with jersey designers that have made logos for the NHL, it's sometimes this great concept like, yeah, let's let the fans decide, until the owner realizes that fans will vote for Bodie McBoatface or something out of just to get a laugh. And then it's not what they want, and they're the boss and they decide, and what goes and what doesn't leaves. And it could be anything from other teams wanting to incorporate teal because they're part owned by the Miami Dolphins and they love the color teal and they want to bring it in, or their wife or husband at the time really likes the color orange, so all of a sudden that's the one that they're going with despite the fans voting a completely different direction. And then and with all that being said, I can imagine how in a prototype video that gets released, I'm sure a few people in that organization are like, man, I wish we could show the cool ones, but the owner said we can't, because if we do, then all the fans will be like, see, you should have gone with that one. And it'll just create this controversy. People will dig into the story, find out, oh, so the vote that we did as fans was just a complete waste of everyone's time. And that's how you end up with something looking a little different. And that's not just jersey designs. That's like literal names of teams. Sometimes they'll name it the Sharks, even though it's not the number one, but it's number two, and then the owner likes it, so that's what it ends up with. So
a lot of people, like, all of us are hockey fans, and we love our jerseys, we love our hockey, and like it become like, for me, being be Canadian and living here and having it. So like it's a part of our culture. We always tend to forget that hockey teams and professional sports teams are literally the toys for billionaires. Like they're just toy. They get to do whatever they want with it. They can just have fun with it and they don't care. It's just what they want to do with it, and they can make money from it either way. And some of them can just run it at a loss for all their life and they don't care.
Like the Buffalo Sabres. Hey-o. No. And then there's another practical part of it where sometimes you'll love the colors that came together and then find out from television cameras that those colors won't show up on television really well. And all of a sudden the design's out, even though it's the best. And because it's like, oh, we can't have non-photo blue on the ice because it'll just blend in with the other color, and now you can't see what players are on the ice very well.
That was the reason why I know that's one of the reasons why this didn't pass, was because the photo or the video cameras didn't do very well with the forest green being kind of a secondary color in the jersey. It just didn't pop as well as they wanted it to. That's why they went with victory green. They wanted a color that would really pop on the ice. But that you cannot make that excuse for this jersey. This jersey would look fantastic on the ice, and the numbers, you can easily read the numbers, and yeah.
Look at that thing.
It is number 5, top 5 in my collection. Don't know where in that top 5 because it depends on the day and my mood, but it's up there with the Motorist, and that's saying a lot if people know who I am and my fandom of the Motorist. Even though a lot of people don't like it, I think it is one of the best things that the Stars have ever created.
If we, you have your Motorist with you, right?
Yeah, it's upstairs. I can go grab it.
Okay. I mean, up to you.
Sure. I'll
Yeah,
go.
I have a question for you,
yeah.
Kate. Is this jersey that you're wearing the result of the Dallas Stars jersey, or is it the other way around?
This came first.
Okay.
So this came in 93, 94, where there was the teal version that was for the East team. And then there was a version of this. It was like slightly different. It had a different color because I'm super technical. But this came first. And then in 97, 98, I believe, the Stars came out with their version as an alternate. And then they did the thing where they ran with it in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and then they won the cup. And then they figured, people love this. Let's just stick to it.
I'm curious. I don't know the answer, and now I really want to find out, is how do you take a design that's kind of been approved for an All-Star game and have it become something that you're allowed to use as an individual NHL team? Because it's pretty cool that they basically were like, yeah, that's sweet. Now we're going to make that the trim of our jersey.
I'm thinking, hold off, because we have the...
There we go.
There it is.
Oh, yeah.
The infamous Motorist.
The lovely...
Team issued one.
It's not infamous here. It's we treat every jersey, most jerseys, with love and respect.
There's this really good video by the Dallas Stars during their 25th anniversary. And for their 25th anniversary, they did 25 defining moments of the franchise. And so they did 25 videos, but they also did another one, and it says the forgotten moment. And it was a whole video dedicated to the Motorist and the design. It was basically a parody video, but they had Marty Turco, Brendan Morrow, completely just bad-mouthing the jersey, saying it's the worst thing in the world. They said that the designer, they later found out, dropped out of school in an effort to become a gynecologist. Just, they made it a parody video, but it still shows interest, and it actually shows information too. But it was a really, that jersey is one of the best Stars jerseys in my personal opinion, because it was the one jersey that says, we are Dallas. This is where we come from. This is
the uterus.
The Texas. This is a Texas Longhorn, right? It's supposed to show a Texas Longhorn. And like, it shows it, like, it's great. And I hate that a lot of people don't like it. A lot of Stars fans don't like it. They think it's the worst thing in the world, but everyone, especially the reverse retro, when they came out with the reverse retro, they said, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you bring this back?
Well, it's crazy. Every time someone brings up the Motorist, I always get in my did you know mode, which I'm sure all three of us have gone into billions of times, and that wasn't the Stars' original plan for their alternate that year. And I'm sure you know the story.
Yeah, no, they, so basically same kind of story what happened with these prototypes, with trying to figure out, okay, we're going to have a bunch of different ideas and see what happens. And the two designs that they settled on was the Motorist, and at the time they were wearing the Star design jersey, which was in the shape of the star, very similar to the one that you're wearing there with, that they took inspiration from. They decided that they wanted, you have a green jersey and a white jersey, which are the two colors of the jersey already. Let's do the third jersey. Like, let's do the third color, the tertiary color in that jersey, and make the primary, which was gold. And the jersey didn't look gold. It looked like mustard. And they inverted the colors of the crest. They inverted the what would have been the name and stuff. And they actually did a different collar too, similar to the mustard cat, or the mustard cap for for Nashville. The Nike neckline, I guess is what it's called. And they didn't go with it. They ended up using that design as a fashion jersey. But they settled with the Motorist, and you know what? They definitely chose the right jersey for that.
Wait, I didn't know they sold the gold one.
Yep. You can buy Coho replicas of it, which are a fashion jersey. One of my buddies have one.
I always figured because there's billions, and as I've showed Dan, and I'm pretty sure the entire Hockey Jersey server, I love prototypes. And I always figured that photo was of one of the prototypes, and they didn't know they actually sold it.
Yeah. No, my buddy got one. You can still buy a couple of them. I've seen them pop up on eBay here and there. They go for the same price as Motorist replicas, which 10 years ago you could buy like 10 of them for $100. Now you can't even buy one of them for like $200. So it's and these are replicas. So they go for the exact same price, but yeah, they are out there because Coho ended up using them as a fashion jersey.
Like it was also done by Starter, because I remember back then Starter like legit released a fashion line of jerseys, and it was pretty much what Sask is saying. It was kind of like they took existing jerseys and kind of messed with the colors. You know, you'd be able to find like a Rangers jersey as the Lady Liberty, but instead of the dark blue, it was like the red as the main color.
They did like tons of them.
A black Detroit Red Wings jersey.
Yes. And like a really dark blue Florida Panthers. And I believe even the one that you have behind you, they did like a sky blue in it as well. So,
but the Starter ended up losing the contract for the NHL in 1999 was the last season. Like 98, 99 was their last season. Then CCM took over and Pro Player. And then after that, it was Coho CCM, which was the same company under Masca. But they didn't do fashion jerseys after that point. But I guess that the Stars were like, you know what? We like both designs. The Gold Star isn't good enough to be on ice, but maybe we can sell it and make some more money, because I don't believe at the time revenue sharing was a thing yet. So anything that was sold by the team was their money. Like all the Stars jerseys were paid, was their money. So they decided, we'll just throw it out there as a replica and see who would buy it. And they did sell. But yeah, no, it came from a failed prototype basically. And I think it was like, I think that was the only fashion Coho jersey I remember. It wasn't very, I don't think they made any other Cohos that were prototypes or fashion jerseys.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, I know Pro Player dabbled in it. I don't know if CCM or Coho ever did.
Yeah, besides that one,
Besides that one. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
That kind of makes it even more unique in a way. Mm-hmm. I think revenue sharing came in around the mid-90s, though, because I just, talking to Terry Smith, who designed the Sharks logo, that was the reason the Sharks were so good out of the gate, is because that logo kind of instigated NHL properties becoming a thing, which then instigated the revenue sharing model, and the Sharks came in 92. Yeah. So I assume it's somewhere in the mid 90s, but I
thought the revenue sharing came in from the 2005 CBA, but I might be completely wrong. I thought that's where it came in.
Hey man,
but I could be wrong totally too. Wrong.
Maybe. Yeah. Since we're on the topic of, we can eventually call it a day, but since we're on the topic of kind of like the Stars redesigns, I always love that the Dallas Stars logo before the redesign on your wall was not even a Dallas Stars logo at all.
On here. Let's see here. I have things hanging. I'm trying to... no, it was... So originally what the plan was for... Here, I'll grab this.
I can actually grab my own. It just doesn't have the 75 patch on it, unfortunately.
So yeah, basically this logo was originally designed in Minnesota. And it was designed as a logo to be easily moved.
Right.
So at the time, Dallas wasn't above it. It was just stars. It was Kelly green and gold, metallic gold.
Yeah, hold on one sec.
You got yours?
Oh, you can keep talking.
Yeah, you got yours. Like you're
That's what he's going
you're
to
in
do.
Minnesota
Yeah.
right before the move. You can go grab it if you
Yeah,
want.
you can keep talking.
Okay. So before the move in 91, 92, they decided to rebrand because Norm Green wanted to move the team. They originally wanted to try the Bay Area, but that ended up going to the Sharks, and that didn't happen. So they still wanted a jersey that they could easily move because they didn't know where they were going. They didn't know if they were going to Anaheim. They didn't know if they were going to San Diego. They didn't know if they were going Vegas or anywhere. So they needed a place where they could go, or they needed a jersey exactly like that where they could easily move it and just keep the name, keep the branding, keep the colors, and go from there. So they just made that nice, simple jersey. It was just black, minimum stripes, and complete rebrand, and got rid of all North off of it. They went from this logo to that logo, and Minnesota fans knew the writing was on the wall when that happened. It was done. It was the end of the era. They know they're moving. They just don't know where. So that's where that jersey came in. And then they announced 2 years after their rebrand that they were moving to Dallas. And for the very first season in Dallas, all they did was put Texas shoulder patches on the jersey. They wanted to keep, basically Norm Green was already losing money in Minnesota. He didn't want to spend a bunch of money on a new rebrand when he moves the team somewhere. So a couple patches on jerseys were super cheap. That's why you can buy replicas that look like the Texas shoulder patch. If it's an inaugural season, the patch is like down where the numbers would be, and the other one is up here by the neck. Like they put them on in such a rush. They just used North Star jerseys, and like replica, like CCM and replica just threw a patch on it. They didn't even care if it was straight. They just threw it on because it's like, we need to get these out the door as quickly as possible to try to get people. So that's what they did. They named it the North Stars, they named it the Dallas Stars so they could easily move it. And then after the first season, they were hoping to do a rebrand, of an official rebrand, where we'll change the logo, maybe change the name. But that first season, they went to the playoffs. They swept the St. Louis Blues in the first round. People had already bought the merch. People were already calling them the Stars, and even the ownership was like, okay, yeah, well, we're in the Lone Star State. The Stars name works. They kept it, but they did add the Dallas word mark over top, and they changed the green from Kelly, which is this, to forest green, which was this, and made the jersey, like the stripes, wider and stuff, but kept it very similar jerseys. But yeah, and that's kind of the origin of that jersey, and that was another of that logo and jersey. And then when they did the rebrand in 2013, Tom Glardy said that the logo wasn't theirs originally, and they wanted to have a specifically Dallas logo, and that's where they came up with that logo. That's their logo. So, but as a Stars fan, a lifelong Stars fan, this one will still always be the Dallas Stars. Like and I was really happy when they used it on the reverse retro. Maybe not the best color choices, but still happy to see it again. They used it again, and that's all I cared about.
Or sort of see it again. I know it's hard to see the stars without the silver, the really bright silver.
I got a game issued one from their auction, but I got one, and the ones that the players wear on ice look so much nicer than the ones that you buy in the stores. But that's true of any Adidas one. But I will show this though, in this jersey while we're on the topic of logos. So actually, also, I was talking about the numbers for this. It's actually interesting for these numbers because I was trying to figure out where this font was familiar from. It's Florida's font for their new jerseys. Mm-hmm. It's the exact same number. So that's interesting. But they have a really cool, like, metallic but not metallic twill. Like, it's not like the Vegas metallic twill, but it's like I don't know how I can explain it. It's shiny, but just can't explain exactly what kind of twill it is. But it was a really cool design and stuff. But I was looking at the logo, and this was one of the final prototypes, right? And they were really still trying to figure out the logo in this, even with the prototype, because if you look closely, right in this shading, I'm going to try to get the picture the best I can. See how it swoops in the shading area?
Oh,
here?
Yeah.
That's not actually what they went with. They went with a straight line across. Now, this is supposed to like signify that it's like 3D, but what they went with is, I don't think I have jersey down here that would show it. But basically what they did was just a straight line across. And it actually also shows up in the shoulder.
I was going to ask, yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed that immediately when I got this jersey. I was like, well, that's different. And so even near the very end of their of the rebrand, they were still trying to figure out what the logo was going to end up looking like. Like this logo isn't half bad, but they did use green in here, where the one they went with is black, and they went with the straight shading lines instead of this curved one that makes it look more 3D. But either way, I'm still happy with this logo, but still will never, ever, ever be this logo. This one is what they won the Stanley Cup with, right? It's not this.
And that's part of why it's hard to rebrand a team. When they have success, it's harder to then come up with a new identity. Too many people just are tied to the great memories of that, and it makes it harder to, stray away. So I think that's why some teams like the Canucks have gone through so many different rebrands, even colors, because they have no Stanley Cups. And you want, in my opinion, the Oilers logo is pretty antiquated. Looks like it's from the 70s, 80s. I'd love to see a rebrand of that. I think some of their third jerseys have been unbelievable, but their only third jerseys, never a new rebrand with colors, because you had that dynasty in the 80s that is just, so iconic to their success, and they're still riding that wave. So
they can't get the one time that we said for the Oilers, like, hey, you know what? You tried a New Jersey. It looks great. It was a play on their WHA, their 2015 to 2017 alternate. It's their WHA striping. It's not Gretzky. It's Gretzky colors, but it's not Gretzky. And it sold like hotcakes. Everyone wanted it. It looked fantastic. They even said they were going to go to orange when they went to Adidas, because everyone's like, oh, great, we're just going to get this jersey in Adidas. Then they went back to the Gretzky stripes. They changed the colors. They didn't understand exactly why that jersey did so well. They said, oh, well, just the color orange was. No, it's that shade of orange, the shade of blue, and the striping is why everyone loved it. It's not because we wanted the Gretzky. We didn't want Gretzky's design in those colors. We wanted just that jersey. That's all you wanted. WHA. But the Oilers have a problem with recognizing their WHA. Like the Jets have no problem with recognizing their WHA. They'll say, this is WHA jerseys. These are our history, the Avo Cup winners, all this stuff. And the Oilers, you might as well just say they started in 79, because that's what they do for their anniversary patches too, was they just recognize themselves as they're from 79.
And it's tough when you have a team like the Oilers, or we were talking about even the Islanders, where they actually went through the process of redesigning something new, something modern. Because even the Islanders' history, they didn't think they would even be in Long Island past 5 years. They were only there to stop a WHA team from coming there. So they just put it like a logo together. They figured, whatever, we'll have an NHL team here until the WHA folds, and then we'll move it somewhere else. And then it stayed, and then they became one of the most iconic teams in history. And then when they redesigned something new, nobody really liked it.
Exactly. And this is the problem with all these teams, like all the teams going back to their original colors. Like Buffalo, we can say Buffalo here because they have rebranded a couple times now. They had their original colors, their royal blue, their gold. Then they rebranded to the goat head, and radical change. Didn't use any of the old colors. Radical change, no, like nothing was different, or nothing was the same. Then they went back to the Buffalo Slug with similar colors, and then they went to the old logo but different colors. And now they've like made the full turn and gone back to their old color scheme, and everyone loves it now, right? But teams have a problem that not just the teams, but fans do too. Everyone wants to see the old jerseys come back. Everyone wants. Calgary's the exact same. They went back to retro. But you know what? Their retro jerseys, even though people say their white jersey is the best in the league, no, I don't agree. I think they're boring, and the black is something that black was Calgary for longer than what their just red and gold color scheme was. Black was in their color scheme for a lot longer, and that's what I grew up watching was black. And now going back to this, it looks plain. It looks like it needs another thing. But of course, nostalgia is key at this time because everyone is getting into their people who grew up with the old stuff is getting into their 30s, their 40s, and they're wanting to remember what they were like when they were a kid, and they want to see what they had as a kid. So it's a whole societal problem, actually. But I guess for the Stars too, the Stars have really been against that. Which has kind of been nice. But on the other hand, though, the problem with it is that it's okay as long as the jersey isn't better back then, right? For the Stars, all the Stars fans want them to go back to the Star design because the Star design is the superior design. It's a jersey that's set without even a logo. You can tell what team it is. And that's something you can't say with a lot of other teams with their designs because like, like if you have a jersey in a shape of a star, you're going to say, oh, that jersey must be some sort of related to Stars somehow, right? You're not going to say that with Calgary's jersey, right? You can't say that. You can't say it with the Canucks jersey. You can't say it with a lot of jerseys. That one is one of the best designed jerseys in the league, and I'm surprised that they finally went back to it after 14 years, and they still kind of messed it up. But they proved that they can do it now, so they have no excuse not to do it now.
Anyways, thanks so much for coming on, showing off there's only one that I see now, but the two fantastic prototypes. And there it is for the camera. Both
fantastic.
Fantastic. Just fantastic. Double D. And thanks, Dan, for coming on. I know on your podcast, Hockey Jersey Addicts, you're going to be doing some stuff with prototypes, I believe.
Yeah, I definitely have enjoyed this conversation with you fine gentlemen this evening, and it was a lot of fun talking twill. And I'll be having some other guests on to talk a little bit more about prototypes from other teams around the league. And we'll be sure to be giving your channel and your podcast, both Nostalgice and Jersey Thursday, some shout outs so that people can find this conversation here to uncover more great history about jerseys. So thank you so much.
Jersey Thursday is a video for it's a
for
video.
Nostalgice?
Yeah, for Nostalgice, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for correcting me. Should I redo my thank you?
No, you don't have to. This is part of the charm.
Okay, good. Well, I feel a little bit better then. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to have some other guests on, like the All-Star, who's a really big prototype fan and has a lot of good things to say about the Nashville Predators history.
Thanks so much, guys.